That was some of the sketchiest shit I have done. Good morning and welcome to my garage. Barely big enough to fit one car, let alone try to do any kind of woodworking or assembly or anything like that. Also, the stuff I have has to fit into this little storage container, which is not quite 6 foot by not quite 4 foot by, again, not quite 4 foot. So space is pretty tight. Let me just show you what I have inside. So in here, one of the things I have is this table saw, this Skill table saw. It's fairly old. My father bought it. I'm pretty sure when I pull it out, I'll find a date that he bought it because he liked to date things. And it gets some usage, but I'll kind of show you some of the challenges that I have. I also have two of these little side table thingies and a plastic lifetime desk table, foldy table thingy. And the challenge comes when I'm trying to use it to do assembly, etc. But I'll show you what I mean. So I just took these out for reference. This one's quite handy because it can go in and out. There's a little protractor. Can't really see it. Dog holes. Don't really use them. This table I've used mainly for painting. The big drawback with this one, though, is that because it's plastic, when you try to clamp things under here, it's so soft and it's not straight that the wood just kicks up. And as you probably just saw there, anytime I want to use anything from in there, it's quite the production. So if I have to use anything that requires in feed, out feed, here's the gymnastics that I have to go through. Option one, which is not terribly sketchy, is having to use my pack outs to do in feed, out feed. Not too bad, but not ideal. However, it's not good on the back. Option two, which is better for the back, is more sketchy because you're now doing the same thing but in the air rather than on the ground. And what can happen is this table is not the best, and there is a risk then of the table saw making its way off of the table. I have managed to break down a 4x8 sheet of plywood, but I need the help of my wife to at least do some holding up. But this is sketchy and not recommended. So how are we going to fix that? The long-term plan is to make a workbench, probably 5 foot by 3 foot, which will encompass the table saw on it, and it will have in feed, out feed. And also, gonna make a cross-cut sled of some sort. Now, the videos that we normally see on the internet, which aggravates me to some extent, is easy cross-cut sled, but they already are trying to make it on their cabinet saw or table saw with a massive table. I don't have that. So this is for all of those people who don't have the tools, who are starting from almost scratch, who have to try to make things to get better at what they do. That is the plan. And yes, it has to fit in here because it will roll out and roll back in, because this is what I have for storage, full stop. I don't have anything else. That is why I need outfeed table. So I also found some scrap 1/2 inch ply. So I'm going to laminate 3 together because the other side was 3/4, is only half. And this would be for the, let's call it the far side of the fence. Doesn't have to be straightish, doesn't really, it's just for support. I just want to say that I am over 50 years old and 2 of these clamps are older than I am, but they work. So while I wait for the glue to dry, I was going to install the rails on the base. I bought this kit from Amazon, and I guess you really get what you pay for. If you can see, focus on some of that. The top of the rail bulges out on all 4 sides, and it's actually a little bit, doesn't fit in here. So, sander, I suppose. Let's see if we can fix that. That was some of the sketchiest shit I have done, and I'm sorry I didn't film it. So essentially, I was running this through the table saw to trim it down because we saw it was too big. That's what happened, and that's what happened. So. Alright, I guess this plan is abandoned, but there is, however, a smaller sled that I can do. So I think plans will pivot to that one instead. Shit. Alright, so I have one bit of track that's still usable. The mini sled involves just using 1 track instead of 2, so much smaller base. You pretty much just secure the track on as normal, and it will go straight like that. And then when you cut, 0 clearance. You still have a back for support. My problem is that this is too tall, so I've got this wobble. So instead of me trying to put this thing through the saw again and mess it up, I'm just going to take a rotor and just ease out a little bit here so everything runs smooth. You may laugh at me, but it doesn't have to be straight. Trust me, it will sort itself out. Perfect. Now, like I said before, it really doesn't matter how this goes on. Everything will sort itself out. You'll see. You will see. And here is how things work themselves out. So this is flowing, sliding freely. All I will do now is just cut that end off. know I left that piece of thing there, but I was nowhere near it, so don't worry. So because that is now that, it means this is now square. So all we need now is a fence at the back to brace the material, and we should be good to go. All right, so it's been almost 3 hours since glue up. So these have been laminated together. Just gonna square them up on the saw. Obviously with the new project that has changed, I'm just gonna make this a little bit shorter. Alright, so I've just glued this up. I'm gonna clamp it down because it's a little bit bowed, as you can see over here. And now I'm just gonna drill some holes, countersink them. There we go. Let us try and come back to it at some point. All right, everything is dry, and most importantly, everything is a square. So just to recap what we've done so far, you've done your mini crosscut sled. It's just using one rail, and it's square. It only takes 2, maybe 3 pieces of wood if you count this as 2. Very, very easy. I don't need to cut super long things, 2x4s or something like that. So I think that will be sufficient for what I need to do. Right, so join me in another episode later on where we will actually start the meat of the matter, which is building the actual teeny tiny workbench.